Hello again, my friends. It's me, your digital guy, Brennan Seraphic Wolf. So I thought I'd make a video just kind of like outlining some healthy, like routine things to do. So, I like to practice what I preach, and some things that have really, really helped me in my life is just having a super healthy morning and night routine. So basically, like if you followed my content for any amount of time, you'll understand that a lot of what I talk about is kind of like the yin and the yang of the physical and the non-physical. And one of the most important areas of our life that is quite often disregarded just due to the nature of our physical stimuli. We're raised to kind of believe in science being the be all and end all, that anything outside of our human experience is not true, or is at least like not specifically real. But the truth is that that's not how these things are. The truth is that our physical reality is a manifestation from a much greater dimension. And the dimension, or the multi-dimensional kind of landscape that we really exist within, that manifests this reality, is our dream state, or our subconscious. And so the thing that I've found is that taking putting in more time to actively be productive within your dream state yields magnificent results in reality. Like a lot of people talk about astral projection, the importance of dreams and all of this kind of stuff. And it's so important to analyze your dreams, because I know that like many of you have definitely had dreams that eerily predicted the future, or taught you something that you couldn't have actually learned otherwise. And the reason for that is because in the dream state, as physical beings, we are bound to the parameters of time and space, right? There's a big, which side do we want to start on? There's a beginning and an end, so to speak, in the reality that we exist upon. But in the dream state, that's not how it works. In the dream state, because there are certain levels of the self, there's the ego, the conscious self, the subconscious self, the higher self, the entity. There's multiple different layers to the actual self, or the soul, or the spirit, so to speak. And our higher self, my own terms as I'm going to be using, there are different interpretations, but our higher self exists within the dream state. And within the dream state, there is no space or time. There is only the spontaneous present. And within that realm, our higher self is able to view our lives from a much more unique perspective, where it can see every possible outcome, both going forwards, backwards, sideways, inwards, and outwards. It's a multidimensional reality where it views our life as a person, or a human, as being almost like this multidimensional moving picture, where suggestion and influence and impulse and intuition shifts the way that this picture is presented in its own harmonic way, so to speak. And so something that I've always found really important, that I put a lot of emphasis on, which has helped me develop significantly or rapidly in a short amount of time, is actually actively putting time into the dream state. And what I mean by that is valuing the dream state just as much as you do your actual physical life. And so, something that we've kind of been, just due to the nature of reality as it is, obviously we have the sun and the moon. And so typically the natural way to live is being awake for 16 hours and asleep for 8 hours. But even that is not necessarily the healthiest way to live, because throughout the day, we're overeating all the time, we're awake, we're, kind of like spending our entire energy, and then we sleep for 8 hours where we starve the body, and, recharge over that time, and then we get up. Whereas, in terms of actual health, the healthiest routine to actually have is 6 hours awake, 2 hours of sleep, 6 hours awake, 2 hours of sleep, 6 hours awake, 2 hours of sleep. And the best way to kind of think about that is, for example, like charging a phone. When you use your phone all day, you're using it constantly, goes from 100% and then, degrades until it's almost empty. And then overnight we plug it back in and then it overcharges and it's just full for the whole night, when it doesn't have to be. Whereas if you were to use your phone for a certain amount of time, charge it would charge it back to full, start using again, charge it back to full, and use it in that way. It's much healthier for the life of the battery, as it works the same with us as humans, because that way we don't have to eat as much, we can digest more easily, and we're able to follow our natural impulses of sleeping rather than sleeping for an extended period of time and then being awake for an even more extended period of time. Because what happens when you take an approach of this sort, and I'm not necessarily telling you to try and change your sleeping patterns to this, but when you actually change your perspective of this, or at least allow yourself to sleep when your body just naturally feels like sleeping, and being awake when your body naturally feels like being awake, and following that intuitive desire or that intuitive rhythm or flow into the dream state, you become a lot more aligned with your higher self. You become a lot more aligned with all of the information that goes on in the dream state as it tries to communicate that with you. And because, as I said, like in the dream state, that's where a lot of our work gets done. That's where most things manifest. Like physical events come from the manifestations of the dream state of your higher self, and of these very, very beautiful energies that are put into the creation and projection of events. And so, as I'm saying, like it does sound a bit bizarre, because we aren't taught to kind of value our dreams as much as we should. But by simply, putting intention into our dreams, and by allowing ourselves, or at least respecting our dreams in a much more significant way, like respecting what sleep is, because it's not just for the body to rest, it's for our mind to actually explore its psychic nature to a much more significant degree. Something that I like to do is allow myself to slow down at night, because I know a lot of people, and it's quite easy to just, a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy their jobs. They come home and they have to decompress, and, they're not looking forward to getting up in the morning. They don't like going to work in the morning, and they just look forward to the weekend. So a lot of the time people get home from work and they eat, and then they just watch their streaming services, look at their phone, play video games, and they just overstimulate themselves all night because they don't like their day today. And all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, should have gone to bed an hour or two ago, need to go to bed now. And they rush themselves to bed, go to sleep or stay up, or whatever happens. And then a lot of them wake up, the moment their alarm goes off, they're back on their phone, they're getting their coffee, they're getting dressed, and they go straight to work and go, full blown back into physical mode from being asleep. Whereas that's a super unhealthy way to live, and it really limits a lot of the natural impulses and a lot of the natural intuition that would come to you if you were to actually value the dreams and respect them in the way that you naturally should. And so personally, a thing that has helped me a lot is, I'll always stop using my phone, or, try to at least slow down the stimulation of my brain quite like almost an hour before going to bed. I've bought, the blue light glasses, which kind of shield your eyes from a lot of the bright, I don't know what it's called, but the blue light filtered glasses that help lower the stimulation of your brain from looking at screens. I find that really helps. And, treating your nighttime treating the daytime as a time to be physical, and treating the nighttime as a way to be a bit more emotional and intuitive and going inward, and ultimately enhancing your psychic nature and your psychic abilities. And so I always recommend, like, an hour before going to bed, just try and taper off the amount of technology that you're using. Try and taper off the amount of stimulation you're giving your brain. When it's dark, I'll typically like kind of stop using technology and just like take my dogs for a walk at night and go for like a nice long hour walk just in the dark. I don't bring my phone with me or anything like that. And I just allow it to be a good amount of time for me just to kind of reflect and to think and to philosophize and to just really slow myself down and figure out the intentions for what I want to achieve. And it brings a lot of knowledge and a lot of emotions to the surface of kind of in relation to like where I'm going in my life, what I kind of want to do, maybe perhaps what I'm stressed about. And once I get home, I'm in a much more calm state. Like I'm already kind of ready to go into the dream state with a good intention. And, when I get home, typically before bed, I'll even journal. I'll either journal or meditate. I'll do some yoga, like some stretching. And in this practice, this is a very, very healthy, like inward time for me to kind of reflect and really just appreciate my body, what I put it through, the way that it operates, and, just how well it's doing in helping me get to where I want to get to be as as a psychic individual who's incarnated into human form. Just the appreciation for just the magnificence of reality in that sense. And once I've kind of like slowed myself down, I've gone for a good walk, I've done some good stretches, and I've meditated or journaled. At this point, my brain has really gone from being physically stimulated to being much more calm and inward, and my breathing is much more calm. And then going from that meditation and setting an intention and going into an astral realm, you're almost like able to take part in like the psyche's natural superpower to manifest. And when you have these intentions and you start paying attention to these dreams a lot more and valuing them and respecting them and viewing them for what they are, which is the plane from which our physical reality manifests from, and your true heritage as a being, when you wake up in the morning, you'll start having like some incredible realizations about who you are and where you're going, and just the way that this whole reality kind of actually works, and the mechanical design of it. And rather than getting up and hitting your alarm and going straight back into it, again, almost reverse engineer what you do at night. So when I get up in the morning, I get up at roughly either like 4:30 or 5:30 in the morning, depending on what I've got done for the day. But, I wake up, turn my alarm off, don't look at my phone, put my lamp on, which is just an easy light, which doesn't kind of shock my body into being awake. And I immediately take my dogs for a walk in the dark, no phone, no anything like that, go down to the park, and there's a park bench there, and I let the dogs do whatever they want, they run off, and I sit at the park for 20 minutes and I meditate. And I reflect on my dreams, and I try to analyze my dreams and the information that has come to me. I reflect on the intentions that I had set up the night before, and the new intuitive impulses that are coming to me, and the new psychic kind of information that is now being presented to me about the challenges of the day or the challenges of the particular chapter that I'm involved with in my life at the time. And I allow myself to really just go inward and reflect and figure out where I wish to get in my life. And the answers will quite often come to you in symbolism, but in a very like intuitive and emotional form of where you need to go in your life. And, after this meditation, I finish up, I walk the dogs back home, still don't use my phone. I get inside, I feed the dogs, make sure to hydrate, drink some electrolytes, all that kind of stuff. Then I'll spend the next, 10, 15 minutes watering all of my plants, spraying all of my plants and everything. And then once it's, about an hour has gone past where my body has actually managed to wake up and slowly transition from the psychic state of the dream state and coming back into the physical, doing more stretches, do a quick workout, all that kind of stuff, prepare my meals. By the time I'm actually ready to go to work, my body is awake. I've got my energy already established for the day. My aura is set up, and the energy that I possess within me is very, very confident. It's not easily rocked. And it's inspiring to the people around me because I'm able to project a very, very healthy energy of intuition, of inspiration, of fulfillment. And again, like when we're talking about energy, that is a psychic thing. We're talking about the psychic nature of our vibrational frequency. And when I've already set that up through the past, say from 8 p.m. through till say like 6 a.m., 10 hours of nurturing that psychic energy and the projection of it in the way that I wish to affect the people around me, you'll find that things will begin to manifest for you in a much better way. The right people will start becoming attracted to being in your life. Certain events will just kind of seem to happen in a way that is more than just luck. It's like they are pre-designed by a greater power, which they are, but they'll slowly manifest, and you'll start being presented with new challenges, which are much more exciting, and you'll be able to start viewing the problems in your life as being challenges in order to help you kind of develop to that next stage of the person that you need to become. So, and then, yeah, the sun comes up and you're back to the physical, and you're back to, being involved with all of the things within your reality, your work, your friends, like all of that's overstimulated impulse or stimuli. And, you go throughout your day, but, when you get home after work, make sure that like as the sun goes down and as you kind of like tapering closer to the time that you need to go to sleep, actually put time into going to sleep. Like actually value what sleeping is, what the dream state is, and you will start feeling so much healthier. You'll start feeling so much more rejuvenated. You'll start developing your psychic abilities in a way that, like when you start developing your psychic abilities, it's not something that you can necessarily physically explain. It is an intrinsic feeling and a knowing of things that can't be explained, and knowing how to kind of like utilize your inner energies and your inner senses to manifest events and to make them appear in real time in the near future. But again, I just kind of like wanted to, I know that's a bit of like an abstract thing, but as you again like put intention into your rest and into your sleeping, and even on the weekends, make an effort to take naps throughout the day, and allow yourself in those naps, like use them as a meditative practice to kind of focus on the dreams and come back with the dreams and whatever symbolism you might experience while in them. And once you start doing this, you start realizing that the goals that you wish to achieve will start presenting themselves, or at least the solutions to achieving them will begin to present themselves to you in a much more like reasonable and is there a word for clarity? Like there will be a lot more clarity in the methods of achieving the things that you want to achieve when you do start valuing the importance of the dream state. So, interesting one that I just thought was like a cool concept to kind of bring up, that I personally use every single day. It's not a single day that I don't do this. This is like a very, very important part of the things that I do. And I highly recommend that you do it as well. Again, like journaling, meditating, stretching, yoga, hydration, assessing your dreams, writing your dreams down and what they could potentially mean to you. Don't bother looking at dream books, because dreams are subjective experiences. They are subjective experiences with subjective symbolism based upon the experiences that you've had that have an emotional energy to the things that you experience. You're not going to like read in a book what a raven means and it's going to be able to tell you, because everyone's experience of raven in their own subjective reality could mean something different. Some person may have been attacked by a raven, and so in the dream, the raven represents fear and a lack of control. And someone may have had a raven as a pet when they were growing up, and so the raven in their dream could symbolize love and support and nurturing and taking care of another. So don't ever read dream books and try and interpret your own dreams from them. Dreams are such a subjective thing that you need to analyze for yourself based upon the emotional content of the symbolism that you experience within them. So again, that's it for this video. Make sure to check out the links I put in the description. I've got a lot of stuff happening now. I've got a free Facebook group that you can join, which is called The Way Toward Health, Awakening Your Soul, which I just post a lot of like this spiritual kind of stuff in it. Great community. Check out the Redefining Spirituality podcast. I upload the episodes to this YouTube channel whenever I release them, but it's also on Spotify if you want to check that out. Go check out my Instagram, which is Seraphic Wolf. You can also check out my business, which is Seraphic Sound Spiritual Healings. There's a Facebook group, there's an Instagram page for that as well. It's all on my profile. I'll put the link tree down below. Also, feel free to subscribe. Subscribing helps. Feel free to like. I'm never going to stop creating this content, and everyone who's involved with it really helps me get an idea of the content that people want to see. That helps me create better content that is more tailor-made for those who wish to know certain things about spiritual development or self-development, or even like psychic development, or just any of these things, or helping you just find the ways to find fulfillment, which will lead to joy and excitement and just reaching that greatest version of yourself. So again, thank you for watching. My name is Brendan Van Witchen, and yeah, peace. Thank you very much.